The world is known as the Institute of the Brothers of the Christian Schools. So we have been in existence since more than 300 years ago.
So here we go. Once you have a degree from it, I'm sure you can secure a bright future abroad. Why choose brotherhood?
Interestingly, this story really began in college.
Unlike us, you're not chasing money or fame or status. Like, what are you chasing in life?
And I saw that chase. Part of that school, you actually sort of have this golden ticket to success. But I realized, what if I just use this ticket to something else? And countries, but
The world has seen enough wars. Most of them are partly related to religion. So what has religion contributed to this world?
I mean, that's the reason why we study history, and it really reflects on.
I want to understand what is the future of Catholicism, because one example is that churches have been converted to bars in
Wow.
in Dublin.
I think Christianity and Islam would still be on the top, but
Is it a good thing that the more and more people are being less aligned with religion?
we are also one of the most corrupt.
I think the more we listen, I'm sure the more we can understand each other. Hey folks, this is the 5th episode of INSEAD Insights. And today we have a very interesting guest with a very unconventional background. He's not into finance or technology or trading. He is a Catholic brother, currently working as Vice-Chancellor at Salle Medical and Health Science. He is none other than Aikee. Hey Aikee.
Hi. Good evening and good morning and good day to everyone listening. So again, I'm Aikee. Maybe I'd just like to introduce myself into two levels, just like what Pavan has said. So there is another organization that is my being a Lasallian brother, which is called the Lasalle Brothers, or in the world is known as the Institute of the Brothers of the Christian Schools. So we have been in existence since more than 300 years ago. We are currently present in at least 78 countries, 78 to 80 countries. And my current assignment is here also in the Philippines. And you have already mentioned the school where I am currently at.
Thank you for the introduction. So here we go. So you studied from one of the Philippines' prestigious universities called University of Las Banos. Is that correct?
That's the state university. That's the other degree that I have. Yeah.
Okay. And you also studied from an institution that Gail has studied from, right?
Yes, that's called De La Salle University.
De La Salle University. I know that De La Salle University is like one of the very prestigious universities in Philippines. Once you have a degree from it, I'm sure you can secure a bright future abroad. Why did you choose to stay back in the Philippines and not to choose brotherhood?
Interestingly, the story really began in college when I was a college student, and I've had so many opportunities to be active in school. For example, since I was part of the student council, I was involved in many organizations and many activities outside the school. And it's not just school politics; it's really more in involvement with social issues outside the university. And I've had experience attending different projects, and this is where I've seen a different kind of country. Growing up, you realize it's not just the school or your dream or the work that you want to do, but I've seen the poverty that is glaring in front of my eyes. And early on, when I was studying, I really thought of having a good paying job in a multinational company, etc. But then when I had these experiences, it slowly opened my eyes, and I've slowly thought of how I could be of meaning and of purpose. I was in one of the activities. I went to this area in Manila. While it's very polluted, and I thought there's no area that is clean or pristine, I was invited to a medical mission where we share this opportunity for people to have consultation and medicines from our volunteer doctors. And I was so shocked when you realize that there is still an area in Manila that has white sand, but interlocked in this white sand area would be trash, and people were living on it. It really sent me to a sort of a crisis. I asked myself, what is the purpose? What for is this chance of having a good paying job or a bright future if the people around you are not really able to dream for a day? How can I just dream for only myself when others do not have that chance? And that really encouraged me to look beyond and ask myself how else I could be of meaning and purpose to other people.
Makes sense. At least the idea that thinking about others and putting others before you is such a noble thought. I admire people who are into social development and serving the society. It needs like a different different set of mindset to that. Because unlike us, you're not chasing money or fame or status. Like, what are you chasing in life?
Yeah, and I saw that chase in college, where people were chasing for companies, for places where to use their golden ticket. By being part of that school, you actually sort of have this golden ticket to success. But I realized, what if I just use this ticket to something else, and maybe share that, or give up even that golden ticket, so that other people can have a better chance in life. So instead of me having my own career, by joining the brothers, we give up a lot of stuff. And but by giving up, you're able to open more opportunities for others. So by establishing schools, by dedicating my talent and my skills to the establishment of these schools, we are able to open for more scholarships, for more charity patients, to be able to help the community. And every day, I am fulfilled by seeing the people who benefit from that cause.
At times, like when I do like really little small charity, I feel so happy. And being in your profession and doing that every single day, every single hour, I can feel what it is. I'm happy for you, Aikee. Moving on, I was going through your LinkedIn because I wanted to ask relevant questions. In one of the places where you mentioned taught Christian living and social science to junior high school students. In the current day and age with technology, artificial intelligence advance, how much relevant is religion or this Christian way of living?
I really thought about that also. It's just that in the Philippines, the reality is different. There's still a lot of Catholics who actually look for these kinds of services and ensure that part of their education is the holistic formation, and part of that is growing up with human values and with Catholic values. In other countries, especially in Japan, when I had an experience teaching, the appreciation or the understanding of religion is totally different. But I did not call my subject Christian living, but I still use the same approach, looking at social issues, looking at concerns pertaining to human development. And these are basic human discussions. And in fact, by having these questions and discussions about how we should live, help us to be more human and ensure that our lives are enriched despite technology. We can actually integrate technology in our discussion. It's just that by having these classes, we don't forget the essence of our humanness to other people.
Okay. You actually mentioned Japan, that you worked in Japan. So you were mentioning that the understanding of Christianity in Japan and Philippines were completely different. Can you explain like why were they different? Was it because of the culture? Culture plays a role there, or?
I suppose it's really more cultural. They do have their own religion, and if you ask them, I think they would answer two, either Buddhist or Shinto. But in our understanding, you only have one. So more, if I'm not mistaken, the appreciation of religion in their society will be more of part of a ritual or part of a life process. But for us, we choose religion based on the principles and the values that we believe, and we so continually use that articles and tenets of faith so that we can enrich our lives. So I think for some Japanese, religion divides people. Religion is controlling. There's so many rules. But for some of us, with choosing as just one religion, we sort of pattern our way of life because we find the benefits of having religion, the meaning and the enrichment of values of each day is based on our belief, whichever faith we choose.
You mentioned that a point where religion helps for a peaceful living or enrichment of life. The world has seen enough wars mostly because of religion. So in 2025, in one or the other corner of the world, some or the other war is going on, and part of them are partly related to religion. So what has religion contributed to this world?
I mean, that's the reason why we study history, and it really reflects on us as humans, how we evolve and how we change over time. If we, let's say, just put a box on religion just because of the wars, then we might overlook the other benefits that it would have. Even for Islam, maybe, if I may use that, the contributions to science, the contribution to how everything developed. There's so many other benefits and contribution that these world religions have had. For example, even the Catholic faith, the Catholic religion was involved in colonization in our history.
Yeah.
But I think I think the discussion should move towards how we should learn from our mistakes and how we should think of religion as a mirror on how people continue to evolve and do things for the better. And each religion will have its own time, I suppose, or pace to discover these. For the Catholic Church, we still have a lot of things to change and a lot of opportunities, but we also recognize recognize that there is a huge contribution for the past few years on how we have built institutions in different countries and how we have guided millions of people to goodness.
Yes, I'm sure there is no denial that there is significant amount of good has been done, especially by Catholic institutions through education, through hospitals, whatnot. There is no denial. I just want to understand what is the future of Catholicism, because it's at its heart in Europe, the Vatican City. Europe has seen so many scandals with abuses, whatnot, and as well, slowly the Christian influence in the society has been dying down. One example is churches have been converted to bars in
Wow.
London, in Dublin, in Amsterdam. I'm sure
I have to see those.
you have to.
I wonder how they converted that.
So it's quite a vibrant nightlife in a church which has been a home to religious priests and brothers like yourself. Now they're party places. So what is the future of Catholicism? Where is it heading?
I think we sort of localize the decline also. I think in Northern America and Europe, in a lot of industrialized countries, Catholicism has been going down. But also we've seen growth, at least to the regions where we've seen also steady population growth. For example, Latin America, Africa, and for us in Asia, growth is still there. But I was looking also at one research organization on religion. I think more and more people will become irreligious. I think Christianity and Islam would still be on the top, but people who are not anymore aligned with any religion is increasing. And but I do not blame people who wish to have that. I mean, that's the freedom that we have. So I think in the future people would choose to be less aligned with a specific religion. But in the world, the Christianity and Islam is still going to be the two major religions that we have.
So is it a good thing that the more and more people are being less aligned with religion?
My experience in Japan actually sort of affirms that. For many Japanese who are not religious, but you also see that they're very clean, that very organized, that they are able to have a heart for each other. They sort of have consideration to each one's space. You know, when you're in the train, it's very quiet because they don't want to disturb anyone. They don't want to harm anyone in their decisions. I think actually is one good example of being religious also has its benefit. As long as people have the basic values, it doesn't matter which religion you align with.
Yeah, I agree with the thought of basic values, but maybe if you take the example of Japan, is the culture, right? They're very organized. I mean, a train in Japan always arrives at time, but there are countries where trains will never arrive on time. So people in these countries, if they become irreligious, I don't know, is there any benefit? Or because I think the Japanese, it's related to the culture, not religion, I think.
I think there's still a value to it. In the Philippines, our crisis has always been, we are the most Catholic country in Asia, but we are also one of the most corrupt, with our government leaders also stealing from public coffers. So it's a very ironic situation. While we proclaim that we're very faithful, we are also one of the most corrupt countries in the world. But I think it's still part of that discussion. Now, if you take out altogether the Catholic faith, would it worsen or would it improve the situation? I still believe that if you take that out, I think it will be worse. So hopefully the faith's there to remind if we who are leaders and people of influence in the faith continue to make our message relevant and heard, then maybe we can influence more people to not disconnect their personal lives to their expression of faith.
Yeah, makes sense. So now most of the people who are listening to this, they might be from different religious backgrounds or different faith backgrounds, or they may be irreligious. How would you explain your Christian living to an audience that are non-Christians or non-Catholic background?
For people of common different faith, I fully disclose that this is the perspective that I'm coming from. But also, most of the values that we teach, peace, justice, love, mercy, these are all universal values as well. Whenever I teach that, I ask first, I give first a common situation or a common issue that we can look at together and ask each one of their perspectives and just tell them of what my perspective is. I do not force my belief or my faith on anyone. In fact, we believe that by listening and allowing everyone to express their opinions, their thoughts, their values is a way also to enrich the discussion.
Yeah, I think you spoke some powerful words there, like without enforcing your beliefs on others, still open to listen. I think the more we listen, I'm sure the more we can understand each other. Moving on, I know your main purpose is like social development and serve the needy and make a difference. But why INSEAD? That's to business administration? Why?
Because schools are all primarily a business, and specifically for in our context, in the school where I'm currently assigned, we run a hospital, which is a 24/7 business. I believe that learning from INSEAD would help us improve our systems and improve our way of business, bringing into the table my perspective as a nonprofit or even as a religious organization. I suppose would also enrich that perspective. Say, for example, when you were discussing in class about business and society, if you remember our discussions,
Yes.
sometimes very heated discussions.
Of course.
No? I think it really all boils down to, I think it was one of our classmates who said that it depends on where you are born. The reality is very different. Our responsibility as a school in the Philippines goes beyond just being a business in itself. We are present because we are also here to help the community develop. We are also agencies of social service. And we cannot discount the fact that if we run our business well, then all our extra income, all the excess of from our revenues over expenses will be able to help us have more funds to help more people through scholarships, through charity patients. And while we can look at donations, and that's I think one of the reasons why I was encouraged to go to business school is to look at how we can stop relying on donations, because we cannot just rely on those. We have to look at ways and how we can enrich our business model despite the limits. As a non-stock nonprofit, we don't issue stocks.
Yes.
We don't pay dividends out. So it's very investment is very limited. We cannot receive investments. We can only take up loan. So that's why the finance class has been very interesting for me. But a lot of it has also been foreign because we don't use a lot of those instruments in funding our projects. So and my experience has been I've been learning from a lot of our classmates, and they've been very generous in teaching how this usually happens. And I sort of learn a lot coming home on how we can improve and ensure that our business runs better and in a more efficient way.
Yeah, it does make sense because donations might dry up after a period of time. You have to have some sustainable model to keep the business running, well, non-profit organization running, so you can serve more. I totally get that. Now, going back to INSEAD and the people that you met there, what was your thought process like? For me, when I first week of my INSEAD was like, God, I spent 200K on this. Is it worth? That was the biggest question in my mind. So, how are you finding now? Are you satisfied?
Oh, I'm very much satisfied. Because I'm learning a lot, not only from the classes, but from the people that I am with. The diversity, of course, that what INSEAD has always been saying, helped me in a certain way to challenge my own perspective. And I think particularly for INSEAD, that's the gift. If we are truly learned, if we are truly experienced, if we are truly diverse, then we become kinder, more, in a sense, challenging. We challenge each other in a very fraternal and kind way because we want to be a force for good. I sometimes get intimidated by the experience of our classmates being chief finance officers, presidents, owners of companies, but they're the most humblest people that I've encountered. You don't feel a sense that they're very arrogant or that they know it all. In fact, they offer their perspective and they listen to people who come from a different background or experience. And I think that's my biggest takeaway, really. You meet these new set of people, and you know that learning provides a bigger avenue for you to be a better person.
Yeah, definitely. So now moving on to your personal life, being a brother, doing an MBA, also having a role as a vice chancellor. So how are you managing your spirituality? There is also business aspect to it. There's also a learning aspect of MBA. So how are you gelling all three of them together?
I don't see a lot of irony in all of these things. I think if you've noticed, I come home a bit early or I don't join a lot of our evening activities. It's because I come home to our community. And that's how we use the term community. In our house, in one of the schools in the East Coast. And when I'm there, I'm present to the brothers who are also living there, who are also, in a sense, working there. So I don't forget that time for prayer. I join them whenever I can. But I think a lot of our classmates also have been interested in as to to what a brother does, in a sense, give up. When we were talking about when in strategy, I was relaying to my group the challenge we have as an organization that we are declining, and one of the reasons maybe is the vows that we have. I've explained this to my group mates. As being a brother, we have actually five vows, five promises, but the three is the most common in any of the group around the world. First is poverty. When I say poverty, the salary that I get from my work does not go directly to me. I get a specific allowance for a month, but all the fruit of my labor goes into the group. But that's not because the group wants to take everything, but we sacrifice that because we do not want to forget the meaning of being simple and poor. If we have accumulated so much, then we will not be any more concerned on how a person with having not so much would feel. Anyway, all our needs are provided, so that's okay. But by having not so much, it helps me to challenge my life to be more simple, to just be very practical, but to also ensure that I still need God in my life. The next one is obedience. A lot of us, of course, would have control over our careers, but particularly we promised that we will go wherever we may be sent. So we are deployed to different countries or to different schools, even if that's not our choice. It's because we are needed in that situation, so we become more disposed to be open to different situations, depending on what is needed. And I think the third one is the most controversial, and that is the vow of chastity. The vow of chastity does not mean that I wear a chastity belt. But that really means that I promised myself that I will not have my own family. That celibacy is a way of life. That really the meaning there is that I dedicate my whole life and my energies to the mission.
So talking on celibacy, don't you see the distractions, like don't they bother you at all in your day-to-day life? Or I'm just curious.
I'm also human. I also have my own temptations, but there is a part of me, maybe that's just how I'm built.
Yes, of
That
course.
I'm okay to sacrifice that. Of course, there's some moments I think of what if I have my own family, or I really see myself leaving them behind over the cause or over the mission that I have chosen. And some people do that. You know, there's some families with fathers who are working in 8 agencies and they would have to leave their family, right? I think that would be my situation. But in my case, it's just that the what's in front of me, the deal that I have chosen is really fulfilling. And that sort of outweighs those feelings of what if and whatnot.
Yeah, so you've been telling about missions, right? Like one of the vows is missions, that you've been sent on missions and you go where there is the need and requirement. What was your most challenging mission so far?
Oh, I think it must have been my assignment in Japan. It's because everything is the complete opposite from my understanding. My life and my preconceptions, my assumptions. In a sense, I had to throw everything so that I can fully understand what is in front of me. Of course, the language is different, the culture is different, but I think I found a way to live through that. Has been the most challenging, but also the most memorable and the most learning experience so far.
In the beginning, when I asked you why brotherhood, you're telling about how giving that golden ticket to someone, where there are moments where that you get to give your golden tickets to people and see smiles over their faces or gratitude from them.
Because I've already sacrificed that. I don't have it. By being in this work, I don't have it. But when I see our students, our scholars who graduate with tears because they have accomplished what they have also longed to accomplish, when I see our patients having a new lease of life because of the gift of charity extended to them, these are the times when I tell myself that it's worth it. And I've been here for more than at least 17 years. And I really see that all my effort has been worth it.
Wow. So you've been there for 17 years, right? So what is your goal or your dream for example, the Lasallian or Catholicism or your group of brothers in general?
I hope that we will be able to expand to more territories, if not reach out to more people, because actually that's our trend. While the number of religious brothers are going down, our business, or should I say our mission, are actually been exponentially growing, steadily increasing. So I hope that after finishing INSEAD, hopefully I can contribute to making our business more sustainable, hoping that we can ensure that our processes are efficient so that we can compete. In the Philippines, there's a growing trend now of conglomerates financing private education. And that's a huge competitor to us. And I hope that we'll be able to compete with that as well.
So, the private schools with private backers, does your organization provide free education, free health to people?
We use technically the profits of whatever we do to that. Whatever we use in excess of our expenses, it goes back to the school, and we use that money for scholarships and for charity expenses.
So you written back in terms of scholarship, but there is not free education for every kid, nothing like that.
No, as of now, we cannot. We still have to charge, but because we earn from it, that earning, in a sense, funds that scholarship. So we can extend free education to the others.
Yeah, makes sense. And what are the territories that in the roadmap, for example, next decade?
We have recently been opening schools in Vietnam. For the longest time, the communist policy, I suppose, have hindered us from doing that. But slowly, we are regaining and opening more schools. A little bit small, but at least we're starting. There are a number of schools now growing in Africa and in Latin America. In Asia, in the Philippines, there's still a huge demand for our service. In Thailand, in Myanmar, we still have presence, but because of the conflict in Myanmar, we still could not move. But these are some of the areas where we can still grow.
Makes sense. The previous guest, Natalia, you both touched upon one thing, communism. Why was communism hindering your expansion?
I think they see Christianity or religious groups coming in as a hindrance to their policies, because a lot of our ideas, I suppose, are considered liberal and would go against to what they believe. Actually, there's a lot of things also in common in communism and what we do. By sharing our resources with each other, we value equality, etc. But they think that we are as private companies coming in, we are in a sense a threat to that policy.
Interesting. I think maybe we are slowly coming to the rare end of this conversation. So one of the previous guests, his question was, if you have all the time and all the money in the world at your fingertips, what would you do?
If I have all the time and the money, I think I would really support a lot of nonprofit organizations, because we know that they're doing a lot of good. We understand the role of government and how some governments are very efficient in delivering services. But we also believe that there's another sector who needs support, and that is the nonprofit sector. They come into countries of war, of conflict, of poverty, and they are a reliable source of development. And if you fund them, then you can also expect some acceleration or some improvement, because they are in touch with people on the ground, with people who are suffering, with people who have the needs.
Yeah, but money is suffice, no? But what would you do with your time then? Maybe you can just put in your money, but you still have the time.
Because I think that is what giving me at least a good night's rest every day. I know that the time that I have spent is a time of purpose and of value and of meaning. Because Pavan, no one goes out alive in this earth. We will all face our end one day or sometime, right?
Yes.
All the riches that we have, that we accumulate, we cannot bring that. It will all come to an end. So what is the purpose of all of these riches and all of these possessions, if not to be able to improve the lives of another person? For us, we know we have already improved our own lives, but by sharing it, then we realize that our lives can have purpose and meaning and of value. And that is something you can truly leave in the hearts and minds of people. They won't remember how much money you have or how much resources you've had, but what they would remember is how you treated them and how you've made an impact in their life.
So I have two personal questions for you. You mentioned we're all gonna die. Yes, we do. I agree. Religion says there is a afterworld, maybe heaven you can call it. Do you believe in that?
Yeah. It's just that I'm not so focused on that.
Okay.
I think I have that I don't treat it as like a reward or something to look beyond. I focus on what I do now here on earth, and what happens after, I leave it up to God. I
Nice.
don't really think much about it.
So another question from me would be, if Aikee, once after he was done with college, if he hasn't seen that incident of, white sand and trash, who would he have become? What would he have become?
I think I'd still be an aid worker.
You
That
sure?
is
Wow.
really what I wanted to do. Yeah. Because I've always been in volunteer organizations and I really see myself there. The other story, I think, if not, then maybe I would have been in our family business. Because we run a small store of retailing textile and other dry goods. Maybe that, or working in a company. But this is really something that was out of my consciousness.
Yeah.
If not for this, maybe I would have been an aid worker.
Still along the same line. Amazing, Aikee. I really admire you. Now, lastly, tradition is you will have an option to ask a question to the next guest. So what would you like to ask?
Oh, well, my question would be, how can you use your INSEAD degree for good?
Wow. Okay. Compelling. Compelling there. Okay. I will definitely ask that question. With that, I think we slowly came to the end of this conversation now. For me, it was very insightful and helpful because people that I involve with, the work that it's very fast paced, right? You always look at the rewards and the value you create and the money that you generate. But talking to you, it's a completely different perspective. It's more about purpose and philosophy and life and giving back. And it's actually to me, it was very enriching. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Aikee. Thanks a lot.